Hello everyone, welcome back to the Zach F1 channel, and in today's video I'm going to be going over everything you will need to know ahead of the Monaco Grand Prix, as there are quite a few things to discuss. And we'll start off with Monaco itself, and like Imola, don't be shocked if it isn't the best racing of all time. Now, we know in Monaco it's very hard to overtake. There's not going to be much action on the track unless there's strategies at play, potential rain, pit stop dramas. We've seen a lot of pit stop dramas actually at Monaco over the years. Red Bull, Daniel Ricciardo, Leclerc, Ferrari. That's only two in the last recent years. There's always something going on at Monaco. However, I do just have to stress that most of the exciting stuff that's going to happen will be not off track for certain, but more on the Saturday, and looking at how all of the points will come together with the scoring and seeing who's going to come out on top after this weekend. So with me saying all of this, you'd actually still be surprised to know that I am excited for the Monaco Grand Prix this weekend. And here's why. So like I said, on Saturday, it's going to be very interesting. I think Monaco qualifying is one of the most interesting qualifyings of the season, because of course it's not as important as the race. It will never be as important as the race because that's not where you get the points. However, it's the closest in the season where you qualify is probably where you're going to finish unless something drastically bad happens to you. And that's why it's so important to know what's happened at qualifying, because race pace, it doesn't really matter at Monaco. You just have to have that one good lap, get it on pole. You can then control the race pace. So I'm very excited for the qualifying, especially because of how tight it was in Imola. Remember, Verstappen gained about 0.14 seconds over everyone because of Nico Hülkenberg's toe. So actually in Imola, he should have been behind both McLarens. And then when you put the Ferraris into the mix, because I think the qualifying will be quite similar to Imola. So Verstappen versus the McLarens versus the Ferraris on Saturday will be so interesting to watch. And yeah, I haven't spoken about Perez. Yes, he's actually won here in 2022. He hasn't had the best of luck in 2023. 2021 was okay. However, don't count him out. He could still put up a battle into that top 5, top 6 battle between Red Bull, McLaren and Ferrari. And I just think at this point of the season, it's so interesting at who's going to get pole. Because yes, it will most likely be Max Verstappen. However, if Verstappen doesn't get it, oh my God, everyone's going to be so excited off the track. And then like I was mentioning in the qualifying, we really have to talk about Red Bull, McLaren and Ferrari, because they are the top 3 at the minute. Mercedes are a little bit closer than they were. However, they're still nowhere near. They will be around 6th, 7th, 8th position. And Aston Martin, don't know what the hell's going on with Aston Martin at the minute, but not much at all. But this is as close as 3 teams have been in F1 for quite some time. So it's exciting to see. And yes, we shouldn't get too far ahead of ourselves. It's only been Miami and Imola where it's been this tight. We never know. Red Bull could come, fix their setup issues and just blast away the competition. However, it's just exciting to know that someone's there, because we saw with Oscar Piastri, his qualifying pace looked amazing, and at a track like Monaco, could he do something with it? I think so, potentially. Charles Leclerc, his home Grand Prix. There's a lot of things that could happen that make it so exciting to think about, even when knowing there's not going to be that much track drama. It's just everything before the Sunday. It could just all pile up into one crazy weekend. Now, obviously, Red Bull's upgrades have slowed down. They thought this would happen, and I didn't think this would happen this quickly. And like we've seen with Verstappen and Perez's pace, Red Bull definitely aren't the definitive fastest car anymore. Yes, Verstappen is Verstappen, and he needs to be respected because of what he does. Give him a car that's still on the Ferrari McLaren pace, he will still win because that's how good of a driver he is. But we saw with Perez that if you don't have the best 2 driver lineups, you could be having issues now. And that's why I think Red Bull need to be a little bit careful with if they keep Perez or not. So it's safe to say that Verstappen will have a few fights to keep getting these victories in F1, which we love to see. Now, again, Verstappen in general, he's won 5 of the 7 races this season. Could have easily been 7 for 7. No safety car in Miami. He probably would have won that race. Norris probably would have had good race pace, but I doubt he would have been able to make all those overtakes and get up to Verstappen in time. Again, in Australia, Ferrari did look like they had good race pace. However, if he didn't have his issues with his brakes just blowing up, then he probably would have won that race as well. So yes, he is still the man to beat. So we need to be careful when we talk about this stuff, because it's Verstappen. He's just so good that he could still win anyway. However, Norris, he obviously won in Miami. He was close to beating Verstappen in Imola. He was 0.7 seconds away from Verstappen by the end. However, a lot of people and Lando Norris were saying that 2 or 3 more laps he probably would have got him. However, I find it difficult to believe because of how good Red Bull's straight line speed is. Yeah, I know he couldn't get his car turning into the last corner properly, so Norris could have been really close to him, but I just think it's a bit of a stretch to say that Norris would have been able to do it, because the amount of time he was losing with the dirty air behind Verstappen, it would have been difficult to get to that like 0.5, 0.6 seconds gap to be able to go for a run on Verstappen. We saw it with Sainz and Piastri all of the race, where Piastri was clearly faster than Sainz, but you just need that extra little oomph to get past, and I don't actually think Norris would have been able to do it anyway, even if he had 2 or 3 more laps to try. However, with that being said, don't count him out, because with that race pace and how well he did in qualifying, technically third, bumped up to second, by no means does that mean he could not get pole in Monaco. Technically faster than Verstappen overall, without the toe of Nico Hülkenberg, so it could be very interesting Lando Norris wise. And then we've also got Charles Leclerc, like I said, his home Grand Prix. He could easily get into the mix. If Ferrari get that set up right, they weren't far behind McLaren. There was one moment in the race where Leclerc looked actually faster than Norris and Verstappen. However, he sort of ate up his tyres, he went onto the grass, and that was it. But it really does show that Ferrari, McLaren and Red Bull all have cars and drivers that could fight for first place if they get it right. Now, for me, Leclerc's got the advantage of a home Grand Prix, like I said, and it's exciting to see what he can do. He's got a bit of a curse here, but he's put it on pole before. He didn't actually start that race, however, but if he can put it on pole, like I said, he is another man to look out for. Now, there are a few dark horses as well, which are their teammates, Oscar Piastri and Carlos Sainz. Now, Oscar Piastri I'm most excited about as a McLaren fan, as just an F1 fan in general, because his qualifying pace has been looking incredible so far in the last few races. And I really do believe, even though he has a few issues sometimes with race pace, like we saw in Imola, he sort of wasn't really there. Like, he overtook Sainz technically in the pit stop, but after that he wasn't really catching Leclerc, he wasn't really doing anything. But with his qualifying pace, if he can just have one really good lap in that McLaren, get up to pole, he can control the race pace. And with that, he could get his first win in F1. And imagine an Oscar Piastri first win at Monaco. Now that is a story. And then you've also got Carlos Sainz. He's had a bit of a dip in form since Australia and Japan. However, he's not been performing badly at all. And all he needs is just one good race and he's back in it, beating Leclerc, beating Norris, beating Piastri. So don't count both of those two out. Now, Sergio Perez, like I said, he's a bit of a different story, and that's purely because we never know what's going on with Perez. This is the point of the season when he didn't look good last year. He qualified 20th last time, only finishing 16th. However, he has won in Monaco before, so we know he can do it. However, when he won, it was when Red Bull were definitely the dominant car in F1. So I think for me, especially with Sergio Perez, he should just be aiming for a top 5, beat one of the Ferraris, beat one of the McLarens maybe, and then he should be happy. If he gets on the podium, that's a great race for him, because he just needs to be there for Red Bull, and he's not at the minute. And that is the other thing I want to talk about going into Monaco, because there's been a lot of talking and a lot of people getting very excited about the chance of a Drivers' Championship battle. Now, what I need to say is take a few chill pills. I know, it's quite exciting. Yeah, Imola wasn't the best race. It wasn't actually that fun to watch. However, the cars were close. Miami was a good race. The cars were close. So Monaco should be another, probably not an interesting race, but cars close, anything could happen sort of race. But I think to say a Drivers' Championship at this point of the season, come on. Leclerc, 48 points behind Verstappen. I don't think we should be talking about that yet. Give it a few more races, maybe a Verstappen DNF, and then if Leclerc or Norris is within 30 points of Verstappen, then we can start getting a little bit excited. However, the battle I want to talk about is the Constructors' Championship. Now, with Perez doing so badly, Ferrari and McLaren could outperform Red Bull in every single race now if Perez doesn't get his act together. Because if they just get top 5 with Verstappen, take a few wins away from Verstappen each time, the points gap is very similar. Ferrari around 50 points behind Red Bull and McLaren are around 100 points behind. So it would be quite a feat to do. However, not impossible, especially when we know when you put a bit of pressure on Perez, he tends to not deliver. Last season, he had really bad performances and we were all thinking surely he's just going to get better at one point. He never did. And if that happens again, they could be in serious trouble. And this is what people were talking about last year, even me included, where if Red Bull aren't the fastest car, he's not your second driver you need. And that could really hurt his contract negotiations for next season, with the likes of Yuki Tsunoda looking so good, with the likes of Carlos Sainz being available, with the likes of other drivers being available. It could get interesting from that perspective as well. So Constructors' Championship, very excited about. Drivers' Championship, give me a few more races. I'll be excited when I see it. And then upgrades wise, going into Monaco, it's not as exciting as Imola. As Imola, we just had so many upgrades happening for each team. And with Monaco, there's been rumours that Mercedes, Aston Martin, Ferrari, Red Bull are bringing upgrades. However, I'll believe it when I see it again on the Friday. However, I expect most teams will bring track-specific upgrades. And this is because Monaco is such a high downforce track. There'll be quite drastic changes to the rear wings, the front wings, anything to do with downforce, aerodynamics. I really do think there will be quite a few differences on each of the cars. So I'm excited for that. However, with every team bringing them, there's not much to talk about upgrades wise this weekend. However, we're getting closer to a few more upgrades, as Aston Martin could have a few upgrades if they're not in Monaco in the next two races, Canada, Barcelona, and a few other teams could be following suit. And then finally, one more piece of news which I just think is really cool, and that's what I want to talk about, is obviously the McLaren One Off Livery. It's in honour of Senna. It's got the Brazilian colour scheme, and my god, is it a beauty. I wish they had this car all season. I get why it's a one-off, but I don't know. I don't think I can go back to the orange and black McLaren. That just looks so good. That green, yellow, and dark blue. Oh, I can't get over it. It's actually such a fantastic livery. And Ferrari, that's how you do a one-off livery. None of this bullshit with slight little areas of extra blue. That's how you do a one-off livery. Oh my god, McLaren have just completely blown Ferrari out of the way. So I'm so excited to see that McLaren on the track. Hopefully it can deliver some good results in that car as well. I know a few fans were a little bit disappointed. It wasn't the red and white old school look that McLaren had. However, I'm pretty sure there would be like a few issues, because obviously that car was known for having like cigarette brandings, so I think that's where the issues could arise. However, they've done such a good job considering they didn't do the red and white livery, and wow, yeah, I just can't wait to see it on the track. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Will you be excited for Monaco, even though there won't be too much drama on the track because of qualifying, because of other stuff going along outside of the driving? For me, yes. But I can definitely see why people think this will be a bore fest of a weekend. However, don't worry. We've got Canada coming up, which should be good. We've got Barcelona. It'll be all right. Last season, it was pretty decent. There's a lot of good midfield battles. So after Monaco, even though it could be a bit of a boring race, we should get some good racing coming soon. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you later for another F1 related video. Bye bye.